Killing Eve shows representation of queer relationships, but falls short at showing a positive representation of the queer community, often opting for a heterosexual presenting relationship, and ultimately kills off the queer character, leaving the audience with the impression that only true heterosexual relationships get happy endings. Killing Eve is a show following MI6 agent Eve Pilastri as she tries to capture international hire-for-kill Villanelle. Their dynamic is often portrayed as cat and mouse, as both characters are infatuated and aroused by the chase. Eve starts the show married to a man, but after engaging in a homosexual relationship with Villanelle, her life flips upside down, and for the worse. As she leaves her heterosexual relationship behind, Eve's obsession with Villanelle grows as she finds Villanelle alluring and unstable, but more exciting than her previous life. Despite being bonded to each other, the pair cannot figure out a safe way to be together as a couple. After 4 seasons of push and pull, Eve and Villanelle finally come together, only for the series to end with Villanelle's death. In Daryl Miller's article, Hollywood's Diversity Problem, he writes about how we must have more representation in the studio and production side of television. While Killing Eve has been made up of all female showrunners, none of the creatives involved in decision-making were queer themselves. A heterosexual person is deciding how a queer relationship will be portrayed without any insider knowledge into how a queer relationship works. Because there is no insider knowledge on how a queer person operates, Villanelle is either represented as feminine or masculine, depending on her relationship to Eve. When Villanelle is alone, she is often dressed more feminine, as seen in the scenes where she is in bright pink while attending a work-ordered therapy session, or while she is in hiding from Eve in Amsterdam. In scenes where Villanelle appears to be the aggressor in the relationship, she is dressed more masculine, as seen in the scenes where Villanelle is confronting Eve's husband and when she is stalking Eve on a bus in London. The more Villanelle is portrayed as masculine, the more the relationship is presented as heterosexual. However, masculine women, often called butch lesbians, are not men, and in true queer relationships, a femme lesbian is not seeking out a replacement man. A study asking both femmes and butches showed that there were no similarities found between butch women and a heterosexual man in relationships with women, yet Killing Eve tries to box the female-female relationship into a heterosexual relationship that must contain masculine qualities despite no man being involved. A good example of how Killing Eve continues the narrative that a man is needed in a relationship is by using a male character in a sex scene between Villanelle and Eve. Villanelle talks to Eve through an earpiece, yet Eve is having sex with a man because the writers cannot conceptualize sex without a penis. Even if the two people engaging in sex don't have a penis, one must be involved in order for the sex to be seen as valid on screen.
Are you going to listen all night?
Are you having fun in Rome? You should let yourself go once in a while. I can help you.
What are you doing? Okay. I thought you'd never ask.
Don't talk.
Because the writers are not experienced in queer sex and relationships, and there is no framework to base the relationship off of, the story can either take the shape of a heterosexual relationship or it can just end. Even Villanelle's relationship was the main plotline of the show and lasted for 4 seasons, but other shows like The 100, created by Jason Rothenberg, or Buffy the Vampire Slayer, created by Joss Whedon, often portray a queer relationship in minor characters, but end up killing them off by participating in the bury your gays trope. The heterosexual creators of those shows use these characters' relationships as plot devices rather than opportunities for positive representation. Killing Eve ultimately plays into the bury your gays trope, as Villanelle is killed in the final episode after taking down the organization that hired her. It's a tragedy for a reason, the same way The 100 and Buffy ended their homosexual relationships, all for the plot with little to no remorse to how the ending affects LGBTQ audience members. Heterosexual relationships on television are often afforded a happy ending, which leaves audiences with hopes for their own heterosexual relationships. But if gay relationships aren't represented in the same way, then what frameworks do homosexual people have to base their relationships off of if there's only tragedies? The push for heterosexual relationships, even within queer relationships, destroys true representation of queer characters, and until queer creators have powers in the writer's room and the studio, audiences will continue to have a hegemonic view of relationships.